I got asked how I do routing for palaces and Overworld is a thing I've been asked a couple times. I figured I'd just do a recording. Um, just a caveat first. This is the way I do tracking. This is not the way to do tracking. Everyone does it differently, but this is the way that I prefer, that I'm comfortable with. I think it's a pretty good method. This is using just the normal version of Emo Tracker, and I just have the whole thing. I have it filtered now usually when I'm streaming, but this is the whole thing that I have up looking at. And then just a standard Upstarts Week 1 seed, but I made myself invincible and have 1,000,000 lives and have downstab just for the sake of demonstration. This is not a combat tutorial. I'm not going to make one of those. So the first thing is with the Emo Tracker tracking thing, you can click on things and you can place the places, and you could get like really, creative and start mapping out like, here's exactly where my grass is, and then there's a road that goes from there, and do all of that. I don't do any of that because I don't find it terribly useful. But one thing I find happens all the time is I'm forgetting where places are, right? So this is the sort of thing that I'm doing. First thing when I do when I walk into an overworld is I'm going to try and figure out what kind of a biome it is, and I'm going to look for, so attack one. All right, let's move this thing. Right, I'm looking for what kind of biome am I in and where's an edge, so I can orient myself. So real quickly, I found here's the top end of the map, right? And here's North Palace. This is where I started. All right, first thing I'm going to see here is a palace, right? And this is going to be a 3 or 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to mark, like, I have no idea how far left or right I am. I'm just going to put this 3 down on the north end of the map to say, here's a 3 or 6. Come back to it later, right? And it's, starting to look like this is the left edge of the map, but whatever, right? Like, I'm not really interested in creating an exact position of the thing. This 3 serves 2 purposes. This is so I can remember that I have found Palace 3 or 6. And it's also there so if I have to go back and say, okay, I'm going to go back to whatever palace that was, I know approximately how to get to it, right? Go north. Here I found a fairy cave. So what I'll often do with these is I'll use these ABCDs and just say like, well, it was here and it led me that way. Now I won't always mark these, but I will especially mark these if I know that this connection is a connection I need to take to get from one place to another, right? Like there's a segmented area and I definitely crossed it, like that's not the case here. Or if it's something I want to go back and check later, just to have a mark on the map to be like that. Similarly, if there's something that I go to that I have to come back to later, like a rock block cave, I will mark it with a rock. But I also mark everything with a rock. Like here, there is actually a rock block cave there, but if I have to like, come back with something else, I use rock as just sort of a general, hey, here's a thing that you're going to need to come back to later. Make sure you don't miss it. Indicator. So, I might mark, hey, there's a Saria crossing there that I wasn't able to do. Right? Okay, I guess I don't care about the crossing, but I'm still going to mark it because maybe I care about Saria for later. But also, if I walk into Saria, okay, in this case it's Thundertown, so I would actually really want it. But if I just walked into the north end of Saria initially, saw that I don't need to cross it, picked up the spell immediately, I wouldn't even bother marking it because it's not something I need to come back to later, right? The purpose of marking is for me to remember where I need to go later, and not necessarily, to create a perfect map. It's just to help my, stupid old brain be like, hey, make sure you don't forget this thing, right? Make sure you don't lose a race because you forgot about some connection somewhere, right? Here I got a hint. If people haven't used the hints in Emo Tracker before, I got a Karak disappears with the cross. There's 2 different ways to mark things. Like an overworld hint, like I could say, I could right click on this trophy. If I got a hint trophy was in Death Mountain, I could right click on it. Or for palace hints, because I got Karak has the cross, you can right click on the P4 item, right click on the cross, and now I've marked that down, right? I got an information. So that's what you can do to track things. What I actually would have done in this situation is just clicked X on it immediately. I don't care about the cross. I don't care that I want to get it. The only piece of information that hint gave me is, hey, you don't care about the item in 4, right? If I got a P-bag hint, if I got, Link Doll is in P3, I just crossed it off because I don't actually care that it's the cross. But you can, be specific with your markings if you want. Let's see if I can find. I'm not really trying to dig every cave, because I'm just gonna cheat when I do palace stuff. But right, so I might mark here because there's a caldera in the middle, right? I might mark hey. There's an A to A connection, right? There's that lower area that is the caldera that I need to make sure that I remember so that I can go down into there later. If I found, just hypothetically, if I go through this rock block cave, right? Because this is either a continent connector or an item cave. Come on. Attack 1. Even an upstart seeds, it's not great. Right, so I don't have a hammer here, but say I did hammer through this, and it did connect me to somewhere else, right? So there's 2 different ways that you can track things. One of the things I'll definitely do is if on the other side of this rock is the way to get to the east, I'll put down an east marker, right? Or if there's a cave or something like that, just so I can remember where that connected, because this happens a lot of the time, especially with Death Mountain, right? You're traveling. You find the connection to Death Mountain. You say, forget Death Mountain. Death Mountain is stupid and I hate it. Perfectly reasonable, but put a mark down in your map, right? And say, hey, this is approximately where Death Mountain is. If everything turns out horrible and I need to start digging Death Mountain, I have now remembered where it is. Or, again, approximately the direction I need to go to get there. Enough that I'm going to be able to find it quickly when I come back there later. You can flip this mode between West, East, and Death Mountain mode, and it will remember. I have never used Death Mountain mode ever. This exists. You can use it if you want. I will very often take pretty decent notes on the West. I will kind of rarely take decent notes on the East. The big reason for this is it's very common in seeds. You do a bunch of stuff in the West. Then you go East and you do some stuff there. And then you have to go back to the West now that you have more stuff, and now it's 20 or 30 minutes later and you're trying to remember what's going on in the West. Less often the case with the East, right? Usually the case is by the time you're going to the East and you're doing a bunch of stuff there, you can pretty much finish it off and you don't need to remember stuff, right? Like it happens a lot of the time. Like I'll go to the East once, I'll get the stuff I need, I'll do all the palaces there, and then I'm back West. And so I end up not marking the East at all. But once again, you get similar things, got all your palace numbers and stuff. But again, I would say don't get overwhelmed trying to make a whole map because you're gonna spend forever doing that. You gotta play the seed at the same time. But just real simple stuff like mark your connectors, mark where your continents go, mark where palaces are because you don't forget them, right? If this one's right next to start, so you're unlikely to forget it, right? But if you find a palace, ask yourself the question, an hour from now, am I going to remember where this is? And the answer is, if you're me and you're old and your brain doesn't work good, no, you are not going to remember. So this is what I do with marking. And that's really all I wanted to talk about with Overworld tracking, because I know a lot of people don't map track, but it really helps out old people like me, whose brains don't work good, to be able to not lose races because they forgot about something. So I can instead lose races because I'm bad at the game. So, did anyone have any questions? Or I'll stop this one and I'll talk probably a little bit more at length about palaces. This cave just goes nowhere. Okay, I'll go into this palace and then I'll put up a new video talking